pay to get it, and then there would be an annual maintenance fee that you would pay.
Okay. Well, roughly speaking, what does that, can you give, for example, something that'll give a context?
Well, yeah, I couldn't say for Dossier because that was in existence long before I got there. The faster system was quite a sizable amount of money, several $100,000. And
on
then
annual maintenance or implementation?
Implementation.
Okay.
And then annually, I don't remember specifics now, but it was under 100,000. But there was an annual fee, a maintenance fee on it. I don't know, 15,000, 20,000, something like that. Plus, based on the size of the fleet and the users that we had. And it didn't go by truck. Oh, you just got rid of 2 trucks? Okay, your fee just went down to $1.98. But, if you had between, 0 and 50, it was this, and 100 to 500, and 500 to 1,000, and so on.
Yep. Okay.
And you said it was users actually with logins versus trucks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we had to, it was, how many trucks do you have? What size of fleet are you using for our system? But then how many users do you have? And, so every time we wanted to add a user, not someone who was just watching, but somebody who actually had access to it, that was going to cost a little more money.
Okay. And then, Gersh, I want to shift a little gears a bit, unless you had more follow-ups on the...
No, go ahead, please.
Pricing. Okay. So, Carl, if you could think about the operation of a refuse collection vehicle and the data points that you can collect coming from the engine, coming over the SAE J1939 network in most vehicles in the last 10 to 12 years. Can you outline or think about any data points that you think might have reduced or eliminated a lot of this manual entry and paperwork, hypothetically, if it were well integrated with the truck itself?
Well, yes. Starting with reporting the hours and miles on a daily basis, and I know that the systems, could remotely report this. We never did, but so if we were able to, extract the miles, hours, gallons of fuel used, cycles of the arms or the packers on trash trucks, we weren't able to do that. But if the system had reported that to us, that would have been fantastic for scheduling and adjusting our maintenance cycles, because those were the high wear places. Also, reporting as the truck is operating out on the wide world, as it started to have issues, it was overheating, it was various issues, if it would, through telematics, would be telling us, hey, you've got this issue coming up. I'm sure we could have stopped some breakdowns that we had.
Are you aware of any systems that provided that kind of, at least broadcasting that kind of data on the truck?
Oh, yeah. There were actually numerous systems, and not just in fleet management systems, but on GPS-type systems that would report various information. But the cost of it was such that, the upper management was never interested in taking that on.
That makes sense. I know you have a Mack engine, a Cummins engine, your Allison transmission.
Mm-hmm.
The different extents or degrees, these different subsystem providers, critical components of the truck are providing and broadcasting signals. Did you get into knowing what some of those data points might have been and whether there was something that you were hungry for?
Well, yeah, we had the ability to get into the Cummins engine, for example, and using Cummins Insight, when we would, a certain echelon of maintenance we would do, we'd plug the truck in and pull out the codes, both the hard codes and the soft codes, to see what's been going on with the truck. It would also tell us what the driver had been doing to the truck that he shouldn't have been doing. And then when I was at Republic, I was able to obtain diagnostic software that gave us not just the engine, but also the transmission and the air brake system. So again, there we would plug the truck in periodically and find out what was happening to it. So we try to get ahead of some of the issues that we're developing. But that would be separate from Dossier or separate from Faster or Transman.
Exactly. Yeah, I know I'm going a little further upstream from that, and I guess I'm trying to discover if there are valuable points of integration between these systems and the asset tracking software, which you pointed out a couple of them. But that's kind of why I'm going that direction. I'm keenly interested in what you would derive benefit from. So on the air brake side, what brand was that? I know your transmissions were all Allison, but
Meritor.
Okay. So they had a amount of component. I'm
sorry.
So they had an ability to broadcast some data points on the.
Yes.
I guess how. What were those for the air brakes? Just frequency of use, or?
Not so much on usage and that sort of thing, but more so on the diagnostic side. So, if you had a analog sensor was bad or going bad or something, the Meritor system would be able to report to us once you plugged it in with the diagnostics. It was a pretty primitive brain, but it would say, like left front wheel sensor bad. So, you could say, okay, replace that component. The problem for a fleet manager like myself was and is that the availability of information is so amazing, but it's so expensive relatively that trying to convince the guy or the lady that has the purse strings to spend to buy it is very difficult because they don't see the value in it. And I would say, yes, but if we had this, we could potentially avoid breakdowns. And the response back would be, hey, you already have a computer, you're already getting the information. No, we're not going to spend this extra money. Just make do with what you have. So it's kind of like a chicken and the egg. We need the system to tell us, to demonstrate, look how great this is. This is what it's going to save us, before I can go back to the money people and say, spend this money because these are the costs you can avoid. They won't blue sky it. It's got to be demonstrated. So I guess the providers have to be able to loan us the stuff for more than a week. They'd have to give us it for 6 months or a year, which I'm sure providers don't want to do that. And then we build the case. Then I go back to the director of finance, and he says, holy smokes, yeah, this is great. We'll spend the money.
Yeah, there's definitely some structural challenges there when there's a handful of folks coming from one group like maintenance saying we should do this, but ops or safety or finance or tax or accounting, no one really sees your pain points and says, what's the big deal? And trying to get everyone to sign on the dotted line is always a challenge, especially in large organizations like Republic. I'm really curious, though, just to pull on one thread that you mentioned that had me incredibly intrigued, was when you were able to pull in codes after you plugged into the network, and you had noticed something the driver was doing that shouldn't have been doing. Could you point out a couple things that you might have learned from that process?
Yeah, the Cummins Insight will tell you, and you have to then infer what the driver was up to, but it tells you, what was the highest speed this vehicle drove, sudden speed in different gears, that sort of thing. So at my